All right, let's dive in. Today we're going way beyond just simple transcription. We're going to try to crack the code of speech AI. We're not just looking at what these things say, we're actually going to try and figure out how they think.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You ask your phone for the weather, and it tries to call your old boss. Or your transcription software spits out something that is just complete nonsense. These little glitches can be kind of funny, sure, but they also point to a much deeper mystery.
And get this is a real example from the research we're looking at today. A super advanced, state-of-the-art AI just got stuck in a loop repeating co over and over and over. Why? Why does this happen? What on earth is going on inside its digital brain?
Well, until pretty recently, even the brilliant people who designed these systems couldn't fully explain their internal logic. They could see the input, our speech, and they could see the output, the text. But that whole process in the middle, it was a complete black box, a mystery.
But that's all starting to change. There's this new field of research popping up that's basically like a team of digital detectives. And they're finally giving us the tools to peek inside that black box and start to understand how these AIs actually think.
The fancy term for it is mechanistic interpretability. But honestly, just think of it like a master mechanic popping the hood of a car. Instead of just driving it, they're tracing all the wires, listening to the engine, and figuring out exactly how all the parts work together to make the car go.
One of their coolest tools is this really clever technique called activation patching. Here's the gist of how it works. First, you give the AI some clean, perfect audio. Then, you give it the same audio but with noise or some other corruption. Now, here's the magic part. You take just one tiny component from the corrupted run and swap it into the clean one. If the output suddenly breaks, bam, you've just found the exact part responsible for that specific job.
Okay, so this is where it gets really, really interesting, because once researchers started using these new tools, the things they discovered were genuinely surprising. Turns out, these AIs know a lot more than they're letting on.
The answer to that is a huge, resounding yes. The final transcription that you see on your screen, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Buried deep inside the AI's internal layers is this rich, detailed understanding of the audio that just never makes it into the final text.
So to figure out what the AI was hiding, researchers trained these simple little classifiers, you can call them probes, to just read the AI's internal state. And the results were pretty incredible. These probes could identify a speaker's accent with a whopping 97% accuracy. They could also tell their gender, and if the room was noisy, all from information the AI was processing but never actually telling us about.
Then the researchers set up this fascinating experiment to see what happens when the AI is conflicted. They gave it an audio file saying white lice. Now, acoustically, that's what was said, but contextually, it's a little weird, right? Most people would say white rice. And sure enough, the AI would often transcribe it as white rice, which showed this internal battle between what it literally heard and what it expected to hear.
So the crucial question is, where is that contextual guess coming from? For a long time, everyone just assumed the ear part of the AI, the encoder, only handles sound, and the mouth part, the decoder, handles all the context and language. But by using that patching technique to mess with the system, they found that interfering with the encoder, the ear, actually restored the correct acoustic word 85% of the time. This is huge. It means the ear is doing some of the thinking too.
And this chart illustrates it perfectly. That acoustic encoder isn't just a fancy microphone. It's actively learning semantics, the meaning of words. You can see here that as the audio data moves through the encoder's different layers, its understanding of what words mean gets progressively better. It's not just hearing sounds, it's starting to grasp concepts.
So let's see how this all connects. This new understanding isn't just some academic exercise. It actually lets us become AI mechanics. We can find the exact source of those frustrating glitches and maybe even fix them for good.
Remember that co-loop from the beginning? Using these new detective tools, researchers hunted down the source of these repetition errors, and they discovered it wasn't some huge system-wide failure. Nope. It was a highly localized glitch in a very, very specific part of the model.
In fact, they found that one single component was disproportionately responsible for most of these repetition failures. Just one.
That's one component out of 640 similar parts in the decoder called attention heads, which basically act like the model's little points of focus. That's like finding a single loose wire in a massively complex machine is causing the whole thing to short circuit. The precision here is just remarkable.
So if we can pinpoint the cause of errors, can we go a step further? Can we maybe predict them before they even happen? What about those AI hallucinations? When the model just confidently makes stuff up that was never said.
Amazingly, yes. By probing the AI's internal state right at the end of a transcription, researchers could predict whether the output was going to be high quality or complete garbage with 93.4% accuracy. It's like the model itself kind of knows when it's producing a bad result.
So what does this all mean? Why does cracking open this black box matter so much? This research isn't just about fixing annoying glitches. It's about fundamentally changing our entire relationship with AI.
See, understanding how an AI thinks allows us to build way more reliable systems. We can debug errors with surgical precision, correct for weird biases it might have learned, and ultimately create AI that's more trustworthy because it's no longer an unknowable black box. We can even monitor its behavior in real time.
As the researchers themselves put it, this is a major step forward. We are moving from simply using these powerful tools to truly understanding them, and that's always the first step toward mastering them.
And that leaves us with a final, fascinating question. For the first time, we're developing the ability to basically read an AI's internal thoughts. If we can truly understand what it knows, beyond what it just tells us, what should we be asking it next?